Hi, it is May the 10th today. We're here at Mills Block. We're going to hopefully hear or see some frogs. And I'm going to introduce you to who we are with this evening. So here we have, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm George.
Hi, George. And
I'm Adam Elgar. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Biology at LRCA University.
we're going to go for a walk here at Mills Block on this evening. We've chosen 7:30. We'll be here maybe for a little bit as it gets later into the evening and hear more. Okay, so we're walking into, we'll call it the second pond here at Mills Block. And we're hoping to find frogs. Do you want to maybe, George, talk about why we've selected this date, this time, this location?
Okay, well, Mills Block is a great place for frog calls. The field naturalists will do essentially a frog walk every spring, and although the timing is important, the temperature is important too. And some days we'll get, right now we'll probably get boreal chorus frogs and spring peepers. But last week we would have gotten some wood frogs. So we might not see any, but with luck we'll at least hear some.
And what do you think about the time of day? Do you think we've come at 7:30? What do you think? Do you think we're a little too early?
Again, it's more
Depends on the weather.
dependent,
Yeah.
because both chorus frogs and spring peepers will call as even in the middle of the day if it's warm enough this time of year.
Yeah.
So, but they tend to call more in the evening. So I think this is a good time of day.
Why do they tend to call more in the evening?
That's a good question. The if you think of we know what a habitat is, the forest and the field and the lakes and the swamps. Another kind of habitat is the sound habitat. And during the day, birds are singing lots. So sometimes the frogs kind of wait till the birds settle down and then they pick up the chorus, as it were. And they don't have to compete with any bird singing. I don't think they really care, but that's the way we look at it.
Speaking from sort of a general interest point, we're here at Mills Block as a place to hopefully see and hear some frogs. Where else might somebody go? So quite a few of our conservation areas have bodies of water with little to no flow. Where else do you go to hear and see frogs?
Well, almost any area that's wet.
Yeah.
I know I was bicycling along Junot where towards Oliver Road, just in that
Nice
bike
ditch.
path there.
Yeah.
And the wood frogs were almost everywhere. It was almost a continuous thing as I
Yeah.
was biking along.
By our offices, the
Yes,
LRCA
right
offices.
right up to your offices. You know, that's the thing. I mean, wood frogs, because they're more terrestrial than the other species, or some of the other species, they'll tend to anywhere there's a place where they can lay their body, a little pond where they can lay their eggs, they'll do that. Even at the McKellar Island Birds Observatory, John Woodcock has dug a little pond there, and there are wood frog tadpoles starting to hatch now
Yeah.
there.
Any little bit of shallow
Yeah.
water
For
makes
them.
for good habitat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, and as of course, as soon as they metamorphose into adults, they take off. They're far more terrestrial. You'll find them almost anywhere in any forest through the north.
So Adam, I know you're interested in finding out more about what frogs are here, and you've put out sound recorders. What frogs are you interested in hearing or finding out, and what would you do with the data?
Yeah, so the frog that I'm mostly kind of interested in discovering is the gray tree frog, which is mostly a southern species, but it hits the very kind of northern edge of its distribution right in this area. And so I'm really interested in how these animals can survive and reproduce and live in these very northern environments, but also as climate changes, how they'll be affected. Will they be able to expand their ranges further northward and kind of move to higher latitudes? Or they may actually be disadvantaged. So we think that for frogs, that as George said earlier, that the temperature is important. So as it warms up, it must be better. But warmer temperatures come with their own their own challenges. So in winter, if we get less snow, for example, it'll be colder underground, and that can lead to harder times for the frogs. So I'm really interested in how they're surviving and how they may be adapting or evolving to the environment we have here.
So we were just talking about how you can hear such tiny little frogs from such a distance, how they project their sound.
Yeah, that's true. They and some of the smallest ones are the loudest. There's a lake as you drive down into Sibley or Sleeping Giant Park. There's K Lake on the side, and I used to live right beside the lake. And you could stand there, and it was so loud you had to put your hands over your ears.
Yeah.
It was just deafening. But the way they do it is because they have these their throats get inflated. They pump air into their throats, so it's like this little balloon underneath their chin, and it acts as a really good resonator for their calls.
Yeah. Amplifying that sound.
Exactly. And chorus frogs have the same resonator under the throat. The leopard frogs and green frogs tend to use, they have air sacs on the sides of their heads, not under their throat, but it acts the same way.
We're here to listen and learn about frogs, but if someone is not out here with an expert, how can they learn about frogs, and then how might they contribute to community science?
Well, one of the great things about kind of the our technological revolution is that we have all this computing power in our pockets all the time, and so with just your phone, you can make a real contribution to our understanding and of amphibians and frogs, and also help with their conservation. So there's a couple of programs, community science programs, where anyone in the community can record where they may hear a frog or see a frog and enter it in on their phone, and then it gets entered into a big central database where people working on conservation or scientists like myself can use that information to learn where frogs are. So the program's called Frog Watch, and you can go to the Ontario Nature website and search for it, and it's really simple. There's you learn some calls, and then you hear a frog or you see a frog, you enter some information, and you can enter sort of where you were, whether it was warm, if it was windy, what time of day it was, and the frogs, and that gets which species it is, and that gets entered in. And it can be a really valuable resource. Scientists, we can spend a lot of time out looking for frogs, but if you think of all the people who are out there, if we can, through the magic of mobile telephones, we can really contribute to that. So it's really simple, and it's a fun thing to do. You can look up at your observations and see where you've gone as well.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun to check back if you correctly identified the sound of the frog, the call of the frog. Make sure you can listen to it again, and
it's great. And there's others. So one of the biggest kind of international sites is iNaturalist, which I really recommend for everything, not just frogs. And one of the great things about iNaturalist is that if you can get a picture of it, and even if you don't know what it is, you can upload it, and other people can look at it and say, oh, it's a boreal chorus frog, or it's a spring keeper, and then they can identify it that way, and you can learn, and you can look on kind of good places to go see frogs, but also what else has been seen in your area as well.
Yeah, if you're coming to Mills Block, you know what species you might expect to see. I also like that if you don't know exactly what species it is, you put your best guess in, frog, let's say, and then experts can help you.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really easy to do, and it's a great way to contribute to science and conservation.
Program that it's put out by Ontario Nature, and it's called Frog Calls, and it's an app that you can download onto your phone, and that's what the app looks like.
Yeah.
So it's got pictures of all the frogs in Ontario, and you click on one, and you can play the song. That's a wood frog, and you can read a description of the wood frog.
That's great. Now, so you would have to know what sort of 8 species or so we have here in our region from the Ontario species. It doesn't have like a northwestern Ontario
No, but
sublink. Or does it have a range map?
There's only 10 frogs on
There's
this
only
app.
10 frogs. Okay.
So if you were walking and you heard a call, you could
double check with one
go
of those.
through all of them until you
Yes.
found the one that you heard, and then you know what it was.
So it's on the Ontario Nature website.
Exactly.
More. So do you want to talk about the trill that the spring peepers make that we were just hearing there?
Yeah, sure. They do the trill as well as the peep. The peep is far more common, and some people get that trill confused with chorus frogs.
Yeah.
But when you hear the two of them together, there's no question. The spring peeper trill tends to be faster than the chorus frog call. It
Yeah.
tends to be slowed down, and the tone is very different as well.
Yeah. Adam and I had we were listening to another sound recording from his device at another location, and you want to talk about it?
Yeah, so we were listening to another recording, and we heard this peepers and the chorus frog and this other trill that took, what is that? It's not the same. And we sort of speculated and thing, but then yes, turned out a little bit of kind of discussing that it was the trill of the spring peeper, which they do. So the usual call we hear is an advertisement call to the males to attract the females, kind of lay out their claim and hope to attract the female for mating. And the trill is more of an aggression call to the other males if they're kind of infringing on their space to keep them away. And so it's a way to try to intimidate the other males and get them out of their space.
So what are you going to put out, Adam?
So it's great being out to capture or to listen for frogs, but if you want to get them a lot, you can only be one place at a time. So what I'm going to do is put out this, which is just has a small microphone, batteries, and I've programmed it to take one recording 1 minute every 15 minutes from 5 p.m. till about 11 o'clock in the evening. And we'll leave that out for a couple of days, and then I can come back and collect it and listen to what we've heard. And it'll pick up frog calls, it'll pick up bird calls as well, owls if they happen to be calling at that time. So I've got it set just to record for that set amount of time, but I could also set it to wake up when it hears a noise. So this is a way that we can survey a lot of different places all at once for the same amount of time in a lot of different locations. I'm going to set out our recording device. So I just put it on any tree, and it should be able to record. So it's pretty straightforward. I'll just tie it to the tree, or just place it by the tree, and it should record. And then to turn it on, I have an app on my phone which plays a specific sound, and that should start the recording.
Usually, not in the real chorus that they do this time of year.
When did the peepers become less active?
Well, as the spring goes on, yeah, by the time you do breeding bird censuses, they're done.
Yeah.
You hear green frogs and mink frogs.
Yeah.
So, and that's usually about the middle of June.
Middle of June. Okay.